Malayalam cinema has been producing the best works in the country for quite some time now. But this year it seems to be surpassing its own gold standard. From The Great Indian Kitchen to Joji, Nayatta to Operation Java, amazing movies keep on coming from Kerala. And we are not even into half of the year. Rohith V.S. directed Kala, starring Tovino, who is also one of the producers of this movie, is the latest addition to this fascinating list of 2021 Malayalam movies. It released a few weeks before in theatres, but we didn't get a chance to watch it then, and now it is streaming on Amazon Prime. Kala is a marvel of a movie, a densely loaded one with a deceptively simple plot and premise, as good movies generally have. We would try to get into those aspects of the movie that are left for us to decipher. So it will be better if you watch the movie and then come back to this analysis to have an unbiased viewing. The choice is yours. And now, without any further delay, let us immerse into the world of Kala. Brace yourself for some pinches on the way. Kala is so many themes, motives and philosophies overlapping into one film that it took a couple of hours to appreciate it to the fullest. Most certainly, it will open to more discoveries in subsequent viewings. One of the unique parts of the film is how the strong screenplay achieves in hitting so many marks without making the film travel. The setting is limited to a single household and the pretty large dense jungle-like garden that the family farms and feeds on. Remember Quentin Tarantino's underrated gem, The Hateful Eight? How a snow-covered saloon in the Wild West represented a racist America? The setting of Kala has a similar sense, a household and the nature outside portraying the entire animal world. All animals, that is humans included. The furious violence that follows the 45-minute long setup also connects Kala and The Hateful Eight. Like Tarantino in that film, director Rohith V.S. patiently invests on building up his world, setting up his characters, hooking the audience anticipating the jerks which might turn up the next minute, and successfully creating a premise where you can visualize what might be going on outside the frames. For example, we see Shaji, played by Tovino, advising his kid that men do not cry, and if someone snatches something from him, take it back forcibly is the way to go. The same Shaji has an equally patriarchal father played by Lal, a passive-aggressive character who keeps on taunting him for his past failures. Well, of course, we are reminded of Irakal or the more recent Joji, while these sequences featuring Lal ensures we realize what went into the making of Shaji. This world feels like a ticking time bomb. Rohith deliberately constructs it that way, where the detonation might be triggered from any direction. Is it Tovino who is planning something vicious against his father? Is it the daily workers who have come for maintaining the gardens, having some plans asleep? After all, we hear them say that these were lands of their forefathers, which the rich, like Tovino's family, has usurped. Or is it going to turn a Varathan or Straw Dog's way? As we watch the outsiders looking at Shaji's wife and kid. These initial 45 minutes might test your patience at times, but you only realize its sheer significance near the end of the movie. Not only does it set the premise, but it also questions how the supposed civilized audience like you and me read a lurking alarm. We read them as ourselves as the victim, and just before its interval, Kala turns the game, making us the civilized householders to be the indifferent perpetrators. The fulcrum that turns on the table is a dog, a normal Indian breed, a friend and companion to the character of Sumesh Moor. The menace of animal cruelty, a less depicted theme in Indian mainstream, is brilliantly used in Kala. While it addresses the needful awareness, it achieves much more. The dog is not only a subject for its offender to thrust its frustration or get ego kicks from. Like in the recent Tamil classic Periyaram Perumal, the dog is the image of oppressed, the have-nots who are casually stamped around by the people in power, either unintentionally or to get high. There's another dog around, a cane corso of Italian breed, which is cuddled and taken care by the same perpetrator, limiting it to be a showpiece item. Life valued on basis of race, cost, gloss and belongings. In contrasting the two dogs, Kala brings out the duality of the society so beautifully and puts up a strong anti-racist statement. The duality is around in the film, subtle hits at the beginning where the film is heading and more thumping ones as it progresses towards the fantastic climax. And then there's the two men who are gradually reduced to being two animals fighting each other across the entire second half of the film in one after other brilliantly choreographed action set pieces. The film sets up most of the action sequences within nature and pushes on the violence quotient to establish the animal instincts within us. The motifs put around this wilderness could have been lesser, but the overall action choreography and camera work of Kala gets in the needful aesthetics and craftsmanship that good art needs. Kala strikes and strikes overwhelmingly in all the associated crafts of filmmaking. And then the two men in the middle of it all. No praises are enough for the extremely demanding performances that Tovino and Sumesh put in. The visceral duel that Kala thrives on could have worked against the film, had there been any false stepping. But the way the actors carry themselves from scene to scene, sequence to sequence, giving it all is outstanding. Subtext aside, Kala is remarkable just being pure action film for the ovation-worthy dedication of these two actors. And this way Kala achieves in breaking quite few successfully established templates of Malayalam cinema and moves into what Tamil or Korean cinema is good at, taking huge risks, thriving on violence as the thematic tool and paying off the pain and patience of its actors and audience together. All animals are equal, but some are more equal than others. Thus go the famous lines from George Orwell's Animal Farm. How strange that only a few days back we watched Agnieszka Holland's investigative thriller Mr. Jones, based on the Soviet-made famine on Ukraine, that reminded us of these lines. Jones the reporter was shown to be an influence for Orwell's Animal Farm. And now a Malayalam film based on a true story from one of the most beautiful and progressive states of the country reminds us of these lines. That's for us the biggest achievement of Kala. It turns one story of one household into a universal subject that defies time and space. It reminds what the Russians did to Ukraine, or the climax of Akira Kurosawa's High and Low, when the kidnapper was asked why he committed the crimes. Another story of class divide, an unique and deceptive one, and in line with the films we spoke about in our video on cinema on class divide. As we reminded in the last video as well, when oppression reaches all human thresholds, it is bound to hit back as we witness in Kala. In Sam Peckinpah's Straw Dogs or Varathan, the Indian adaptation, violence and toxic masculinity made animals out of decent men. Men giving their all to ensure their doors of their homes are not breached. In Kala, a similar toxic masculinity and hierarchical attitude makes the human animal take its primal shape. And this time the doors securing your household collapse. Kala has a terrific climax which will stay with us for a long time, something which we didn't anticipate. It restores hope, makes you and the characters reconsider the meaning of success and failure, beats toxic ego at its own game, and leads the animal where they belong, to live free.